All right, welcome to another Buzz Beat, this time in a video podcast format. This is exclusive to our Buy Me a Coffee members. I'm Richie Randall, and if you are listening to this on the audio version, there is a video format that includes clips of today's prospect, Isaiah Jackson, if that interests you, that I actually will add a little bit more context to kind of what Brian is saying here. The way that this is going to work is a little bit unlike our regular podcast where we have more of a conversation between all three of the co-hosts. This one should be quicker, and I will be joined by our resident college basketball guru, Brian. I'm going to give a quick statistical profile of the prospect and then pass it to Brian for 5 questions or 5 topic starters about this prospect. And we're hoping to do maybe 2 or 3 of these before the draft. I know that's not a lot per se, but it's just something exclusive to our Buy Me a Coffee members, just to see something a little bit different. So does all this sound good to you, BG?
Yeah, definitely. And if this goes well, then maybe we'll end up doing a few more of them, but we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah. All right. So the prospect for this video is Isaiah Jackson, freshman out of Kentucky, 6'10", 206 pounds, 19 years of age. Just to kind of go over some counting stats here, he averaged 8.4 points, 6.6 rebounds, 2.6 blocks, which is a lot. Shooting numbers, 54.8% from 2-point range, 23 of 25 on dunks, 55 of 81 at the rim, and only took 2 attempts from behind the arc, and it was 0 for 2, but did shoot 70% from the free throw line. So the first place that I would like to start with Jackson is this. Just give me a rundown only on his offensive profile, offensive style. How would you describe him on the offensive side of the court?
Yeah, real quickly, I would like to start with like where he's at athletically before we just dive into to offense or defense or whatever. Richie, you mentioned he's 19. He won't turn 20 until next January. I'm going off these numbers. Kentucky did a pro day just before the start of their season this past year. So I'm going off. These are their measurements. They dished out on that. 6'9.5" without shoes in terms of height, 7'2" and a half wingspan. I've seen him elsewhere listed as like a 7'5" wingspan. The point is he's very long, but I'm going off the Kentucky Pro Day measurements, and then 9 feet and 9.5 inches in terms of standing reach. It's pretty good. His weight at that was only 205, but that's obviously pretty light. But I'm guessing he's added some weight, in the last 6 months or so, probably since Kentucky's season has ended. But yeah, athletically, like pretty darn special for a guy of like that height and length, right? Fluid in his hips, can get out in a stance and slide, really able to move laterally against smaller ball handlers, which is certainly pretty impressive. The vertical explosion is really darn good. Lots of vertical pop. When he has a runway to gather steam, he's super explosive in terms of just how much ground he can cover, like in the air. Like if you're thinking almost like long jumping. And I feel like there were times this year he caught the ball on the move in the lane and was trying to basically do what Kawhi did to Derek Favors in the Jazz Clippers game the other night, but wasn't quite able to pull that off. But he has that kind of ability to sort of like take off get from A to B in the air while also covering a lot of ground. But just in terms of his vertical leap, just straight up in the air, he can really get up off a standstill. Big time vertical pop, big time second jumper, second leaper. Just overall, like it vertically is pretty nuclear in terms of his just overall athleticism, but he can sprint the floor well. You see him get early rim runs on the break, getting back defensively for like chase down blocks is another area. And part of that is like he's fast. I think he also has a pretty darn good motor. That's probably something else we'll touch on a little bit too, but body control on lobs, just like very fluid, looking to catch in midair and adjust to finish, being able to, readjust and put it off the glass for an alley-oop layup or something like that. And interestingly enough, and I think we'll probably touch on this again at some point too, but has some experience playing with LaMelo Ball. Those guys played some during the 2018-19 prep season together, which is kind of amazing. But in terms of his offensive profile, let's get to what you initially were asking me about. Charlotte has a need for a mobile center, a mobile five. This is something we've been talking about on the podcast, or tweeting about, or talking about in the BuzzBeat Slack thread for months now. It's something that this team clearly didn't quite have, regardless of what